You are listening to HOA nuisance files. The curb stripe became her favorite excuse. I was standing in my own driveway when Karen yelled that my vehicle was unlisted and therefore not allowed to exist here. You are about to learn what enforcement looks like, she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. I blinked at her, still holding my work bag, still processing the fact that there was a bright orange sticker plastered across my windshield and a tow truck idling at the curb 20 feet away. The sticker had no readable text, just a blocky warning shape that screamed violation. I had been inside my house for maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes to grab a drink and check my phone. And now Brenda Evans, president of the Lakeview Crest Terrace Association, was standing in my driveway with her phone held high, recording me like I was some kind of criminal. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in a development where the HOA micromanages decals and guest passes like it is fine art. The Lakeview Crest Terrace Association has rules for everything. What color your mailbox can be. How many potted plants you can have on your porch. Whether your truck counts as a commercial vehicle if it has a ladder rack. I knew the rules were tight when I moved in, but I needed a place close to work and the price was right. I am a plumber, and my schedule is all over the place. I work long shifts, I get called out at weird hours, and I do not have time to play HOA games. But Brenda does. Brenda has all the time in the world. Your truck is not on the approved vehicle list, she said, still filming. You missed the mandatory compliance hearing. The association has authorized immediate towing under Section 12 of the covenant. I did not miss a hearing, I said. I was never told about a hearing. She smiled. Your camera does not matter. My minutes are the truth. I turned and saw the tow driver crouching by my front wheel. He had a tire clamp in his hands, a big yellow contraption with a lock mechanism, and he was already threading it through my rim. My heart kicked into high gear. Hey, I shouted. Hey. Stop. What are you doing? The driver glanced up at Brenda. She gave him a tiny nod. He went back to work. This is insane, I said. I live here. That is my truck. I park here every single day. Brenda lowered her phone just enough to make eye contact. The rules do not care about your excuses, and neither do I. I clenched my fists. My spare keys were on a carabiner clipped to my belt loop, jangling with every move. I wanted to grab them and drive off, but the clamp was already locked. I wanted to shove the tow driver away from my truck, but that would be assault. I wanted to scream, but Brenda was recording everything and I knew she would use it against me. I forced myself to breathe. I work as a plumber, and my employer runs background checks on all of us because we go into people's homes. Any kind of criminal record, any kind of violent incident, and I am done. I cannot afford to lose my temper. I cannot afford to give her ammunition. So I swallowed my anger, because I knew the moment to use it was coming. What hearing? I asked, keeping my voice flat. When was this hearing? 2 weeks ago, Brenda said. You were sent a notice by certified mail. I never got certified mail. She shrugged. That is not my problem. The notice was sent. You did not respond. The board voted in absentia to classify your vehicle as non-compliant. The tow is authorized. I stared at her. She was lying. I knew she was lying. I check my mail every day. I had not received any certified letter. But she had her phone out. She had the tow driver on standby, and she had a story ready to go. The tow truck driver climbed into his cab and started positioning the wheel lift. The truck lurched backward, beeping, and I felt my stomach drop. Wait, I said. Just wait. Let me see the authorization. Brenda pulled a folded piece of paper from her cardigan pocket and held it up, just far enough away that I could not grab it. It was a tow release receipt, no readable text, just a jumble of printed lines and a signature at the bottom. "This is the board authorization," she said. "Signed and dated. Everything is in order." "Let me see it," I said. She pulled it back. "You will get a copy when you pay the tow yard fees." "How much?" $300 for the tow. $75 per day storage, plus the compliance fine, which is $500. And the administrative processing fee, which is another $200. I did the math. Over $1,000. For parking in my own driveway. "This is extortion," I said. "This is enforcement," Brenda said. I glanced over at the landscaping contractor working on the hedgerow 20 feet away. He was pretending not to listen, but I saw him glance over every few seconds. I made a mental note. Witness. The wheel lift locked onto my truck frame with a heavy clunk. The driver hopped out and started checking the chains. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Brenda immediately stepped closer, blocking my angle. "You are not allowed to film on association property," she said. "This is my driveway," I said. "Your driveway is part of the common area easement," she said. "Check your covenant." I kept filming. She kept blocking. The tow driver glanced between us, clearly uncomfortable. "Ma'am," he said to Brenda, "is this authorized? Because if there is a dispute, I usually wait for law enforcement." Brenda turned to him, and her voice went cold. "The association has a contract with your company. The authorization is valid. If you refuse to complete the tow, we will terminate the contract and pursue damages." The driver hesitated. Then he nodded and went back to the chains. My truck lifted off the ground, front wheels dangling. I felt sick. "I need to see the board minutes," I said. "I need to see the vote." Brenda smiled. "You can file a records request. It takes 30 days. And there is a copy fee. 50 cents per page." "How many pages?" She shrugged. "Depends on how much you want." I felt the trap closing. The HOA claims my appeal window closes today and they are trying to run out the clock. If I do not file an appeal before the end of business, the tow becomes permanent and the fines go into collections. But I cannot file an appeal without the meeting minutes. And Brenda is refusing to give me the minutes without a 30-day wait and a ridiculous fee. "When does the appeal window close?" I asked. 5 p.m. today, Brenda said. She checked her watch. "That gives you about 4 hours." The tow truck pulled away from the curb, my truck hanging from the lift, and I stood there watching it disappear around the corner. Brenda folded her arms. "If you want your vehicle back, you pay the fees at the tow yard. If you want to appeal, you file the paperwork at the management office before 5. Good luck." She turned and walked away, her pink visor bobbing with every step. I stood there for a long moment, breathing hard, my phone still recording empty air. Then I stopped the recording and called my friend Marcus. Marcus is a notary, and he has helped me organize documents before when I was dealing with a rental dispute a few years ago. He knows how HOAs work. He knows how to build a case. He picked up on the second ring. "They towed you?" he said after I explained. "They clamped my wheel in my own driveway and towed it while I was standing there." "Do you have proof you live there?" "I live there, Marcus. My name is on the deed." "Did you get a hearing notice?" "No." "Then the vote is invalid. You need the minutes. You need to prove they never sent the notice. And you need to file the appeal today." "I know," I said. "But she is stonewalling me. She says I have to wait 30 days and pay copy fees." Marcus was quiet for a second. Then he said, "The state open records law says they have to provide meeting minutes within 10 business days for free if you are an owner. She is lying to you." "Can I force it?" You can, but not in 4 hours. You need a lawyer for that. I do not have time for a lawyer. Then you need to go to the management office and demand the minutes in person. Do not ask. Demand. Tell them you are an owner and you have a legal right. Record everything. If they refuse, you have grounds for a lawsuit. I checked the time. It was just past 1 p.m. I had 4 hours. I grabbed my spare car keys from the hook by the door and jumped into my wife's sedan. I did not have time to strategize. I did not have time to plan. I just drove. The Lakeview Crest Terrace Association Management Office is in a bland strip mall on the south side of Ann Arbor, wedged between a tax prep place and a dry cleaner. I pulled into the lot and ran inside. The lobby was empty except for a receptionist sitting behind a desk scrolling on her phone. She looked up when I came in. I need the board meeting minutes from 2 weeks ago, I said. She blinked. You have to file a request. I am filing it now. I am an owner. I have a legal right to the minutes. She frowned. It takes 30 days. No, it does not, I said. The state law says 10 business days. And I need them today, because my appeal window closes at 5. She stared at me. I do not think I can do that. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I am recording this conversation. I am a property owner. I am requesting meeting minutes under the state open records law. Are you refusing my request? Her face went pale. I am not refusing. I just do not have access to the files. You need to talk to the manager. Where is the manager? She is out today. When will she be back? Monday. I do not have until Monday, I said. I need the minutes now. She shook her head. I cannot help you. I felt the clock ticking. I had 3.5 hours left. I needed the minutes. I needed proof that I was never notified. I needed something to take to the board before 5 p.m. Then I remembered something Marcus had said. If they refuse, you have grounds for a lawsuit. I stopped recording and leaned in. Listen, I said quietly. I am not trying to make your life difficult. But Brenda Evans is playing games. She authorized a tow without proper notice. She is refusing to give me the documents I need to appeal. And if I do not get those minutes, I am going to file a lawsuit against the management company for obstruction. That lawsuit will name you personally as a witness. Do you want that? Her eyes went wide. I just work here. I know, I said. So help me. Please. She bit her lip. Then she stood up and walked to a back office. I heard her talking to someone on the phone, low and urgent. A minute later, she came back with a single printed page. This is the attendance log from that meeting, she said. That is all I can give you without manager approval. I took it. The page had a list of names with check marks next to them. Brenda Evans, present. 3 other board members, present. And at the bottom, a note in tiny print, quorum met. Motion carried 4-0. Was there any discussion about my vehicle? I asked. She shrugged. I do not know. I was not there. Was there a notice sent to me? I do not know. You would have to check the certified mail log. Where is that? She hesitated. In the filing cabinet. But I cannot give that to you without the manager. I stared at her. She stared back. Then she sighed and walked to a filing cabinet in the corner. She pulled open a drawer, flipped through some folders, and pulled out a log sheet. She laid it on the counter. I scanned the page. It was a list of certified mail tracking numbers with dates and recipient names. I scrolled down to 2 weeks ago. There was my name. There was a tracking number. And there was a status, returned to sender, refused. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. That says refused, I said. I never refused anything. I never got this letter. The receptionist shrugged. Maybe it was delivered when you were not home and the carrier marked it refused. Or maybe it was never sent, I said. She did not answer. I looked at the log again. The tracking number was there. I could look it up online. I could prove whether the letter was actually mailed or if Brenda had just logged a fake tracking number to cover herself. I need a copy of this page, I said. She shook her head. I cannot make copies without manager approval. I already took a picture, I said. But I would prefer an official copy. She hesitated. Then she walked to the copier, made a copy, and handed it to me. Do not tell anyone I gave you that. I will not, I said. Thank you. I left the office and sat in my car, hands shaking. I pulled up the USPS tracking website and entered the number from the log. The result came back immediately, no record found. The tracking number was fake. Brenda had logged a fake certified mail entry to make it look like she had sent me notice. But she had never actually mailed anything. She had manufactured the paper trail. I called Marcus. She faked the tracking number, I said. Can you prove it? I have a screenshot. The USPS website says no record found. That is gold, Marcus said. That proves she violated due process. You can fight this. But I still have to file the appeal by 5, I said. Right. So you go to the board office, and you file. You attach the screenshot. You attach the log. You demand an emergency hearing. What if they refuse? Then you go to the tow yard and you demand your truck back. You tell them the authorization was fraudulent. You show them the evidence. If they still refuse, you call the police and you report the tow as theft. I checked the time. 2:45. I had 2 hours and 15 minutes. I drove to the HOA office, which is a single-room building attached to the community clubhouse. The door was locked. There was a sign on the door, office hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It was 2:50. I pounded on the door. No answer. I called the management company. The receptionist picked up. The HOA office is closed, I said. I need to file an appeal. You have to file during office hours, she said. Office hours end at 3. It is 2:50. Then you have 10 minutes. The door is locked. No one is here. She paused. Let me call you back. She hung up. I stood there, staring at the locked door, my pulse hammering. This was the trap. Brenda had set the appeal deadline for 5 p.m., but the office closed at 3. She knew I would not make it. She had planned the whole thing. My phone buzzed. It was Marcus. Go to the tow yard, he said. Right now. Do not wait for the office to open. Go to the yard and demand your truck. Show them the fake tracking number. Show them the evidence. If the tow company realizes the authorization is fraudulent, they will release the truck to avoid liability. What if they do not? Then you call the cops and you file a theft report. But go now. The longer your truck sits there, the more fees they rack up. I jumped back in the car and pulled up the address for the tow yard. It was on the east side of town near the industrial park. I got there at 3:20. The yard was surrounded by chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. There was a small office trailer near the gate. I parked and walked up to the window. A guy in a stained shirt leaned out. Help you? You towed my truck this afternoon, I said. I need it back. You got the release? No. The tow was unauthorized. He laughed. They all say that. I am serious, I said. The HOA president faked the paperwork. She logged a fake tracking number. I was never notified. The tow is illegal. He shrugged. I do not care. You want your truck, you pay the fees. How much? $300 for the tow. $75 for today. Another $75 for tomorrow if you do not pick it up. I was never notified, I said again. I have proof. Do not care, he said. You want your truck, you pay. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshot of the USPS tracking page. This tracking number is fake. The HOA never sent me notice. The authorization is fraudulent. He barely looked at it. Not my problem. It is your problem, I said. If you are holding my truck based on fraudulent authorization, that is theft. I will call the police. He smirked. Go ahead. I dialed 911. The operator picked up. I need to report a stolen vehicle, I said. The guy in the trailer leaned back and crossed his arms, listening. I explained the situation to the operator. She said she would send an officer. I waited. 20 minutes later, a patrol car pulled into the lot. A deputy got out and walked over. What is going on? He asked. I explained the whole thing. The fake tracking number. The fraudulent tow authorization. The HOA president blocking my access to records. The locked office. The appeal deadline. The evidence. The deputy listened. Then he turned to the tow yard guy. Do you have the authorization paperwork? The guy pulled out a clipboard and handed over a sheet. The deputy looked at it. This is signed by the HOA president, the deputy said. It looks legitimate. But it is not, I said. I was never notified. The tracking number is fake. Look. I showed him my phone. He looked at the screenshot. He frowned. This is a civil matter, the deputy said. I cannot force them to release your truck. You need to take it up with the HOA. The HOA office is closed, I said. The appeal deadline is in an hour and a half. This is obstruction. He sighed. I understand your frustration. But unless you can prove the authorization is fraudulent in a way that makes this a criminal matter, I cannot do anything. You need to file a civil complaint. I wanted to scream. Instead, I took a breath. Fine, I said. Then I want a report number. I want this documented. He nodded. I will write it up. He went back to his car and started typing on his laptop. I stood there, staring at the tow yard fence, watching my truck sit on the far side of the lot, untouchable. The deputy came back and handed me a slip of paper with a case number. Good luck, he said. And he left. I looked at the tow yard guy. He shrugged. You still want your truck? He asked. I will be back, I said. I drove back to the HOA office. It was 4:15. The door was still locked. I called the management company again. I need to file an appeal, I said. The office is closed. You are obstructing my legal right. The receptionist sighed. Hold on. She put me on hold. Muzak played for 3 minutes. Then she came back. The manager says you can email your appeal, she said. To what address? She gave me an email address. I wrote it down. What is the deadline? 5 p.m. It is 4:18. I need confirmation that you received it. We will respond within 2 business days. That is not good enough, I said. I need confirmation today. We will do our best, she said. And she hung up. If you are enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss what happens next. I sat in my car and started typing the email on my phone. I attached the screenshot of the fake tracking number. I attached the photo of the certified mail log. I attached the USPS no record found page. I wrote a short explanation. I was never notified of the hearing. The tracking number is fraudulent. The tow authorization is invalid. I am filing this appeal under protest and I demand an emergency hearing. I hit send at 4:42. Then I called Marcus. I filed the appeal, I said, but I do not trust them to read it. You did what you could, Marcus said. Now you wait. I do not want to wait, I said. I want my truck back. Marcus was quiet for a second. Then he said, Do you have any leverage? What do you mean? Something that makes them scared. Something that makes them want to settle. I thought about it. Then I remembered something. A few weeks ago, I had been CC'd on an email thread by accident. It was between Brenda and the management company, discussing how to handle owners who were behind on dues. The email included language like, we need to make an example and we can fast-track enforcement if we coordinate. I had saved the email because it felt off, but I had not thought much about it at the time. Now I realized what it was. It was proof that Brenda and the management company were coordinating harassment. It was proof that the tow was not a legitimate enforcement action. It was retaliation. I have an email, I said. It shows Brenda and the management company planning to target owners. It is coordination. It is harassment. That is your trump card, Marcus said. Do not show it yet, wait until you are in front of the board. Then drop it. What if they do not give me a hearing? Then you show it to the tow company. You tell them the authorization is part of a harassment campaign. You tell them they are going to be named in a lawsuit. That will scare them. I hung up and pulled up the email. I read it again. The language was damning. Brenda had written, we need to show the owners that non-compliance has consequences. If we coordinate with the tow vendor, we can move faster than they can appeal. It was not explicitly illegal. But it was ugly. It showed intent. It showed that the tow was not about rules. It was about control. I saved the email as a PDF and attached it to a draft email addressed to the tow company owner. I did not send it yet. I just wanted it ready. Then I waited. 5 p.m. came and went. No response from the management company. I called again. No answer. I sent another email. I waited. At 5:30, my phone buzzed. It was an email from the management company. Your appeal has been received. The board will review it at the next scheduled meeting. When is that? I replied. The response came back 10 minutes later. The next meeting is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. My truck would rack up $75 a day in storage fees. That was over $1,500, plus the original tow and fines. I would be looking at $3,000 by the time the meeting happened. This was insane. I called Marcus again. They are stalling, I said. Then you go nuclear, Marcus said. You send the email to the tow company. You show them the coordination. You tell them they are part of a harassment scheme. If they have any sense, they will cut ties with the HOA and release your truck to avoid liability. What if they do not? Then you file a lawsuit. And you name everyone. I opened the draft email. I addressed it to the tow company owner, whose name I found on the company website. I attached the email chain showing the coordination between Brenda and the management company. I wrote, "I am the owner of the vehicle you towed today. The tow was authorized by the HOA president as part of a coordinated harassment campaign. I have attached evidence showing that the HOA and your company planned to fast-track enforcement without proper notice. This is not a legitimate compliance action. This is retaliation. If you do not release my vehicle immediately, I will file a lawsuit naming your company as a co-conspirator in a harassment scheme. I will also report this to the State Towing Regulatory Board." I hit send. Then I waited. An hour later, my phone rang. It was a number I did not recognize. "This is Bill," the voice said. "I own the tow company." I sat up straight. "I got your email," he said. "I am looking at the chain you sent me." "And?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "This is not good." "No," I said. "It is not." "I do not want to be part of this," he said. "If the HOA is playing games, that is on them. I run a clean operation." "Then release my truck," I said. He sighed. "I will release it. But you have to come get it. Tonight. I am cutting ties with this HOA. I am not dealing with this kind of heat." "I can be there in 20 minutes," I said. He gave me the address again. "I am waiving the fees," he said. "Just take your truck and go. And do me a favor. When you sue the HOA, leave my company out of it." "I will," I said. I drove to the tow yard. Bill met me at the gate. He handed me a release form and my keys. "I am sorry about this," he said. "I did not know the HOA was pulling this kind of thing." "It is not your fault," I said. He nodded. "Good luck with the board." I got in my truck and drove home. It was almost 7 p.m. The whole day had been a nightmare. But I had my truck back. And I had evidence. The next morning, I got an email from the management company. It said the board had reviewed my appeal and determined that it was filed late. The tow authorization would stand. I replied with a single line, "I have already provided evidence that the tracking number was fraudulent. I am forwarding this email to my attorney." Then I called Marcus and asked for a referral. He gave me the name of a lawyer who specialized in HOA disputes. I called her and explained everything. She listened and then said, "You have a strong case. I can send a demand letter today." "How much will it cost?" $500 for the letter. If it goes to court, we will talk about a flat fee or hourly. "Do it," I said. The lawyer drafted the letter that afternoon and sent it to the HOA board, the management company, and Brenda personally. The letter laid out the evidence, the fake tracking number, the coordination emails, the obstruction of records access, the fraudulent tow authorization. It demanded a full refund of all fees, a formal retraction of the violation, and a public apology at the next board meeting. It also threatened a lawsuit for harassment, due process violations, and conspiracy. The response came 2 days later. The management company called and said the board wanted to meet with me. "When?" I asked. "Tomorrow night. Special session." The meeting was held at the clubhouse, in a small conference room with a long table. Brenda was there, sitting at the head of the table with her small handheld stamp in front of her. The same stamp she had used to mark papers during our driveway confrontation. 3 other board members sat along the sides. A guy from the management company sat in the corner with a laptop. I walked in with Marcus, who had agreed to come as a witness. We sat down. Brenda folded her hands. "We are here to discuss your appeal," she said. I did not waste time. I slid a tabbed timeline across the table. It included the certified mail log, the fake tracking number, the USPS screenshot, the coordination emails, and the lawyer's demand letter. I was never notified, I said. The tracking number is fake. The tow was fraudulent. The entire enforcement action was retaliation. And I have proof. One of the board members, an older man with glasses, picked up the timeline and started flipping through it. His face went pale. Brenda cleared her throat. The board followed proper procedure, she said. No, you did not, I said. You faked the tracking number. You coordinated with the management company to harass me. You obstructed my access to records. And you tried to run out the clock on my appeal. The guy from the management company leaned forward. We have a process, he said. Your process is illegal, I said. And I have a lawyer ready to file suit. The board member with the timeline looked up at Brenda. Did you send him a certified letter? Brenda hesitated. The notice was logged. That is not what I asked, he said. Did you mail it? Brenda did not answer. The room was silent. The management company guy closed his laptop. I think we need to table this discussion and consult with our legal counsel. No, the board member said. I want an answer now. Brenda, did you mail the notice or not? Brenda's face went red. The notice was documented in the log. That is what matters. The tracking number is fake, I said. The USPS has no record of it. You faked the paperwork. Another board member, a woman in her 50s, leaned back in her chair. If that is true, she said slowly, then we have a serious problem. Brenda stood up. I do not have to sit here and be accused. Sit down, the board member with the timeline said. His voice was sharp. You are not leaving until we resolve this. Brenda sat down. The board member turned to me. If we reverse the tow authorization and refund your fees, will you drop the lawsuit? I looked at Marcus. He gave me a tiny nod. I want a full refund, I said. I want the violation removed from my record. I want a formal retraction in the meeting minutes. And I want Brenda removed from any enforcement role. The board member looked at Brenda. You falsified documents, he said. You obstructed a legal appeal. You coordinated with a vendor to harass a homeowner. That is not leadership. That is abuse. Brenda's face went from red to white. I was enforcing the rules, she said. You were enforcing your power, the board member said. And it stops now. He turned to the management company guy. Draft a motion to reverse the tow authorization and issue a full refund. And draft a second motion to strip Brenda of access to the portal admin tools and remove her from any enforcement committee. The guy nodded and started typing. Brenda stood up again. You cannot do this. Yes, we can, the board member said. Sit down or leave. Your choice. Brenda grabbed her stamp and her phone and walked out. The door slammed behind her. The board member sighed. I apologize for this, he said to me. Brenda has been difficult for a while. This was the final straw. I nodded. I just want my record clean. It will be, he said. We will vote tonight. The minutes will reflect the reversal and the reason. You will get a copy by email tomorrow. The meeting wrapped up 20 minutes later. The board voted unanimously to reverse the tow, issue a full refund, and strip Brenda of her enforcement powers. The motion passed 4-0. Brenda was not present for the vote. 3 days later, I got a check in the mail for the full refund amount. I also got a copy of the meeting minutes, which included the board's finding that the tow authorization was issued without proper notice, and that Brenda Evans had been removed from all enforcement and administrative roles pending further review. A week after that, Brenda resigned from the board entirely. The neighborhood rumor was that she had been threatened with a lawsuit by the management company for exposing them to liability. I also got a formal apology letter from the board president, who was not Brenda anymore. The letter said the association took my complaint seriously and had implemented new procedures to prevent similar abuses in the future. Marcus framed the letter and gave it to me as a joke. I hung it in my garage, right next to my tool bench. The tow truck never came back. Bill kept his word and cut ties with the HOA. The association had to find a new vendor, and the new contract included a clause requiring verified notice before any tow. I still live in Lakeview Crest Terrace. The HOA is still a pain sometimes, but it is manageable now. Brenda moved out a few months later. I heard she bought a condo in another development. I hope she learned her lesson, but I doubt it. The tire clamp is gone. The warning sticker is gone. My truck is parked in my driveway every night, right where it belongs. And every time I see a tow truck roll through the neighborhood, I smile. Because I know they cannot touch me. Not anymore. Until next time, take care and stay safe out there.